What's going on, everybody? How we doing tonight? I'm back at it tonight. We have a very special guest tonight. But first, I'm going to bring in my guy that I've talked Mets with since last year. At this point, we're going to start off. Bring him in tonight, Mr. Joe. How are you, sir?
I am doing excellent tonight. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. Pumped up, ready to go.
I'm looking very much forward to this. As always, I appreciate you having me on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, ready to bring him in? Let's do it. You ready?
Ready.
All right, let's do it. Mr. Johnson, how are you tonight, sir?
I'm good. I'm doing good. How about you guys?
Good,
Doing
good.
great.
Howard Johnson, everybody. Played for the Mets, the Tigers, Cubs. Phoenix once in on the action. My dog. All right.
Oh, cute.
So, yeah. So, all right. You down? I can't concentrate with you here. You
Hey,
down?
he needs you. He needs you.
Well, she is the cover of the
Oh,
mascot. She is the mascot. So
Okay, that's cool.
she wanted to see what was going on. She's into it.
Oh yeah. Check me out.
Joe knows. She sees her. He sees her all the time.
Regular appearances.
Awesome.
All right. So Hojo, why did you not play for the Yankees when they drafted you in '79?
Well, first I got drafted in '78
'78. I'm sorry.
and out of high school, and my scout that drafted me, he said, "Go." At the time, they had a winter draft also, so they had a June draft and a January draft, and so at the time, he told me, he said, uh, if I were you, I would not sign right now. I would go to junior college, play a semester of junior college and see how that goes, and then be eligible for the January draft in '79. And because I would have had to go to Oneata, which is their rookie league club, and he thought that I'd be better off waiting and bettering my position, and maybe be able to skip rookie league. And so I thought that was a great idea. I'll go to JUCO, I'll play, do my thing, and then come, revisit back in January. They had my rights up until like a week or so before the draft, and they said, "Well, we will sign you, but it's my recommendation that you just play junior college this year, and we'll revisit it again." You know, and so I told the scout, "Okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to I'm going to just plan on going to the junior college, and we'll just let the January draft, do what it wants to do, and we'll go from there." And that's when I got drafted by the Tigers in the first round of that. And so they offered me an opportunity to go to spring training to compete for the A ball club, which is in Lakeland. It's not about an hour from my house. And I thought it was awesome. I thought it was a great opportunity. It sounded like they really wanted me to sign me and give me a chance to play there. And so I was intrigued by that, and I ended up signing.
So how was it? So you went from A ball. I think you played down there till '81, and then you were in
Hmm.
Double A.
Yeah, I played 2 years there, '79 and '80. And
So
then
you
81,
were,
81 I went to Double A in Birmingham.
and then the injuries happened the following year, and you got the good call up on April 14th, right?
Yes, I did. So what happened was I went to every off season I was going to winter ball, um, just trying to better myself, better my get some at bats, get some experience. And so I ended up having really good spring trainings when I got to the big league side. So in 80 after in the winter of '81, I went down and played in the Dominican and did very, very well. And 82, the spring of '82, I was invited to, big league spring training with the Tigers. And I had a really good spring, although I didn't really think I was having a great spring, but they were impressed by it. And I was the last cut of camp. And so they said, "Hey, just go down to AAA and be ready. You know, if something happens, we'll get you up here and whatever." I said, "Okay, that's fine, no problem." I wasn't holding them to any promises or anything. So I ended up going to Evansville, and we played our first game. And I think I hit at least one homer. I might have hit two. Just had a good day. Kind of typical, playing my game. And after the game, the manager called me and he goes, "You're going to the big leagues." And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, we had a bunch of injuries, and with our big league team, and we're going to send you to Toronto tomorrow morning." I was like, "Okay." So I got all my stuff together, had to call my parents. I was very excited, obviously, and got on a plane, went to Toronto, froze my rear end off in the first game, and I led off and played right field. Got to hit my fourth at bat, and I distinctly remember like being in the batter's box. I faced Jim Clancy, and I remember seeing him pitch, and nothing I had not seen before. I felt like, man, I can hit up here. And so my first at bat, I hit a ball to deep right, and Jesse Barfield went back and caught it right at the fence. I kind of leaped up and caught it. This is an old exhibition stadium, which is outdoors. And so I was like, okay, I know I can play here. And ended up getting a base hit my fourth time up. So that's kind of the story of my call up. And I struggled. Most of the time I was up the first time, I don't know, didn't hit very well. I wasn't a really good cold weather player, being from Florida, but it was just a learning process for me, and the team was pretty good, so they sent me back down for some more time in the minor leagues.
So when did you come back up later that year?
I came up later that year, so I ended up went right back to AAA and did great. Had an awesome season going on, and got called up in August, middle of August. I think it was Friday the 13th, and I got called back up to the big leagues and went up there and just killed it. I think I hit 400 while I was up there, and got my average up to low 300s, and ended up having a good finish and went to winter ball again. Went down to the Dominican and played and did very good again. And that kind of set me up for the 83 spring training, which I did well and made the team out of camp. And so that was my first time I'd made a ball club in the big leagues, and went up, played. I was up for about, I don't know, maybe a month, 5 weeks or so, 6 weeks, and struggled. And again, cold weather and just not really feeling comfortable. And so, they sent me back down to the minor leagues for some more time, and I ended up breaking my finger on. I was having a good season in AAA, but I ended up breaking my finger on my throwing hand, my right index finger. Shattered it in a couple places, and so I had to have surgery on it. They put a pin, and that was it for that. So then I came off the disabled list, and sure enough, in infield the very next day, I took a bad hop and it hit my finger and re-shattered it. And so I had to go back and have another surgery, and that pretty much wiped my season out for 83. But I ended up going back to winter ball and did really well and made the team in 84. Now I stuck for that whole season. So that was my first full year in the big leagues. And that was the year we won, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my story to get to the big leagues.
Joe, you look like you were ready to chat.
Yeah, I just kind of one of the questions I had,
Yes.
I guess, would fast forward a little bit after that. You're on a World Series championship team with the Tigers,
Yep.
And you get traded after that.
Yes.
Now, the Mets weren't a bad deal. I mean, they were an up-and-coming team and going in the right direction. But I'm wondering what's going through your mind at that point, after winning a World Series, getting yourself established there, and then going to another team.
Yeah, so it caught me off guard. I got traded. So we'd won the World Series. We'd had a
Mhm.
parade. It was in December. Got we had not got our rings yet, but I got a phone call from Bill LaJoy, who's our general manager, and he goes Howard, we traded you this morning. And I'm like, you did? I go, because he didn't want to trade me. I
Mhm.
knew that because he told me that, and he said we traded you to the Mets. And growing up in Florida, where I grew up in Clearwater, the Phillies had spring training there, so I was kind of a National League fan to begin with.
Mhm.
It suited my game. I stole bases in the minor leagues. I hit home runs too, but I was a good base stealer, and I learned some things. And so when I got traded to the Mets, I felt like, oh man, this is great. I get to go to the National League. I knew about Dwight Gooden and Strawberry, and I knew Keith
Mhm.
Hernandez was over there.
Mhm.
I knew the team was close to winning the previous year in '83.
Right.
Actually, in '84, they were close.
Right.
And then, when I got over there in '85, and then Gary Carter was traded for
Mhm.
about a week after that. And that the whole team was pretty much set at that point. And I loved it. Davey Johnson was the exact opposite of Sparky Anderson and gave me an opportunity to play and kind of found a role for me. And I really enjoyed it. So kind of let my game kind of happen.
Great.
I have a quick question. I'm going way back to like when
Yeah,
your dad saw that you're naturally a left-hander like me.
correct.
Now,
Correct.
your dad, how did you transition into like if you ever played first base, would you go back to being left-handed?
No,
Or,
no, no.
or
What he
did
did
you
was,
naturally become a right-hander over time?
yeah. So what he did was, he said I was a left-hander, so I hit left-handed. I kick left-footed. But my earliest memories, I threw right-handed, and my dad told me that he taught me to use my right hand and not my left hand when I came to throwing. So basically, when I was 3, 4 years old, and we played catch in the yard, which he did all the time. He taught me to use my right arm and taught me how to throw and everything. So that was kind of how that evolved uh, into that. I stayed a natural left-hand batter, but you know, learned how to throw righty. And the reason my dad did that, which is I thought was pretty smart, because I didn't find this out till much later. I was older, and he told me about it. And he said because you can play every position on the field if you're right-handed. And I thought,
True.
oh man, that's pretty smart. So
Mhm.
that was it opened up the whole thing. It kind of made me feel like, okay, well, I could play different places if I have to. But he taught me how to switch hit, taught me how to hit right-handed, and I did it as a very young age. So my dad was really the driver and all of that, and I was very grateful for that opportunity.
Do you think he did that because that's the way he knew how to do it and didn't want to try to learn to throw the other way?
You know what? That's a good question. I
Mhm.
never asked him that. I know I used to watch him play softball when I was a little kid, and he always threw right-handed. I don't know if his dad uh, did the same thing to him or not. I don't know. I don't think so. I think he would have told me that that's the way he did it. He just told me that that was the best option. So somewhere along the line, he heard from somewhere that you know there's an advantage to being right-handed. Either that or he figured it out on his own. That to give me the most opportunity to be a player, uh, no matter what level, little league, big leagues, whatever, was to be right-handed. I could play all the different places, and so it kind of gave me an opportunity, to, um, you know, bat. I could hit, and it gave me a chance to hit no matter what. So I was all for it.
Would you prefer batting left-handed or right-handed, or didn't it matter once you hit a certain level?
So as a kid, it didn't really matter to me too much. You didn't see a lot of left-handed pitchers. And so my right-handed hitting was never to the level of my left-hand hitting. I mean, I always preferred to hit left-handed if I could. If there was a right-hander warming up, if I was going to face a right-hander, there was no right-hander that I ever feared that I could not hit. I always felt I could hit him. Lefties were a lot different for me, and proved to be an issue a little bit as a switch hitter in the big leagues. But I worked my butt off on that and figured it out. So when I got a chance to play every day in '87, my right-handed side was basically I viewed it as my strength, and so it was just always a preference to hit lefty. But I was going to make myself a good switch hitter.
That was one of my questions. Because I read that and I was like, I'm gonna ask him. I gotta ask him.
Yeah, ask away. I love talking about it because you never know who's listening to podcasts and stuff or watching a podcast. There may be a dad out there that has never thought of it that way, and it's an opportunity maybe to think a little bit outside the box. So I credit my dad a lot for that, just the foresight to do that.
Like I always try to teach my kid to throw both-handed, but it was with a football.
Yeah, interesting.
That way, if he was a quarterback or whatever, he could scramble and.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah. So that was one of my questions.
One of the things I'll tell you one thing. One of the things my dad did teach me was a switch hit, obviously, and I taught my son how to switch hit, and he's teaching his son how to switch hit. So there's a lot. So that's got passed down. And in Nashville, we have an indoor sports facility in Franklin, Tennessee, and called Showtime Sports Academy. And a lot of times at Showtime, I will have my students that I teach, if they're right-handed, to hit left-handed. I want to explore that and find out who's interested in it, who could do it first of all, and who has the guts to do it.
So are you in Nashville now?
I'm in Nashville now. I live in Florida. That's my base, but I spend at least a week or so every month up here with the facility and seeing my kids and grandkids. And my wife and I come up here for the summer, so we'll be back up here in probably end of May or early June.
Got to get out of that heat.
I like the heat. It don't bother me. It wouldn't bother me to stay down there and just fly up. I'm good. I hate the cold weather, so I'm never going to complain about hot and humidity. That's fine. I'll do it. Sign me up.
You talked about your first game. Did your parents get to watch it or fly up and see you play in it in Toronto?
No, they didn't get a chance to do that. They're in Florida. It's just a long way for them, and at the time, it wasn't one of those things where I never thought about, making sure my parents could be there. So they were not. And maybe looking back on it, that would have been something to think about, but it never crossed my mind. I think maybe things would have gone better or differently for me early on if I knew my dad was there. But one thing I did do is whenever I was struggling, like I said, I'm more of a warm weather player. So usually early in the season, I put myself in a big hole, hitting, under 200. And if I was struggling badly, I'd call my dad and talk to him, and I'd fly him to where we were going to be at, for a road trip. So many times he'd be in St. Louis when we were there. I'd flew him up from Florida, and he'd stay with me in the hotel, and we got to talk a lot. And I think just having him around is more of a calming influence on me, and it just helped me kind of lock in a little bit more. And I knew my dad was watching, and I knew he was proud of me, so it made me play a little bit differently. I wish I could have bottled that, but I you just find your inspiration in different places. That was one of them.
Now, did they get to see any of the World Series?
Oh yeah, they were there. They were there for part of the Mets series, not the whole thing. They were there for the Tiger series. Yep, the games in Detroit. They were there for that.
So they got this. Did they get to come in the locker room with you guys, or
no? They didn't. They didn't allow that. That wasn't something that happened. Back in those days, the locker room was really off limits. I mean, nobody was back there. No family, no kids, no nothing. It was just strictly athletes, and that's it. By design, that's what they wanted.
I asked because, I know the the celebration of the World Series is usually happens in the locker room. It
Yeah.
rarely happens fully on the field like it does nowadays.
Yeah. So
Like,
in Detroit,
sent that trophy in
our
the
locker room is really small in Detroit. So you can't fit many people in there. So we did our celebrating on the field mostly in Detroit. That was the biggest celebration. And with the Mets, we celebrated in the locker room. It was a little bit bigger. There's a lot of media in there, but then after a while, that kind of spilled out onto the field. So that was kind of fun.
So that's the part we don't get to see on TV when it goes back.
Yeah.
On the field.
Right.
Yeah. There's a few pictures out there, but there's not a lot of video of that. It was cool though. We had a great time. We're just so excited to have pulled that off after the year we had, and so a lot of guys were exhaling, and enjoying themselves that night.
A lot of fans were exhaling that night too.
Yes, they were. Yes, they were. We felt it.
Yeah. What was that moment like whenever it went through Buckner's legs?
Well, I was on deck,
Your
so I was getting ready to hit. Yeah, I was getting ready to hit. I'll tell you, let me back up a little bit. So in the top of that inning, I think it was the 10th inning, we were down by 2, and Carter was going to be the third hitter of the game, and he kept going up and down the dugout. And he was grabbing guys by the shirt, pulling them close. And kid was a strong Christian. He never swore, and he was dropping some words on us, like he wasn't going to be the last out of this World Series. And he just kept telling us. So he'd get in your face, he'd pull your jersey close, and he'd get up there, and he'd looking you straight in the eyes, like, I'm not going to be the last out of this World Series. And he would just kept doing that. He was doing it to all the guys that were there, like he was working himself up into this altered state, And sure enough, he got a chance to hit with 2 outs and nobody on. And that at bat was that saved us, because he fouled off a bunch of 2-strike pitches to stay alive before getting a base hit. And at that point, when he got the base hit, the guys that were in the dugout felt like, man, we could do this. I don't know where that came from. Maybe it was just kid being kid and giving us that hope. But that's the way it sure seemed like for us. And so the rest was history after that. But when I was on deck watching the Mookie hit that ground ball to first, and Shea had a tough infield back then. It wasn't the pool table that it is now. It was a little choppy. And the ball was taking a weird bounce towards first base, and Buckner had bad legs. He was wearing these crazy Nike high tops that they had made for him, like a prototype, and he could hardly move in those things. And he got caught on his heels, and the ball took a bad hop that I've seen it take many times before, and it just scooted right past him underneath his glove and into right field. And at that point, I kind of jumped up, and I threw my bat straight up in the air. I don't even know where it went. I could have killed somebody, and came down and went to the plate, and I could not believe what I was witnessing. Couldn't believe it. You just can't even imagine it. What's that?
I think that was that moment, right?
That was that moment, yeah, that I was like this. That's when I got to the
I
plate.
think that's the picture I used for the YouTube cover tonight.
Oh yeah, that's cool. There's a little video of the ball going through Buckner's leg from right field. There's a right field camera, and you can see me kind of squatting down with my bat, getting ready to hit, and then I just watching the play develop. And then as soon as the ball went past him, I just jumped up in the air, threw the bat. I don't even know where it went, and that was it. That was the last I really remember. It was wild scene.
Everyone thinks like that was like Game 7.
Everybody thinks it's Game 7, yeah. So we ended up going. We were going to the locker room, and we were saying, "Says we're not going to lose. We're going to win this thing. There's no chance we lose." And sure enough, I mean, it didn't matter. We were down, I don't know, I think 3-0 in Game 7. Even they had a rain out, so the game got pushed back, and we thought maybe that might help Boston, but we felt really good about ourselves. And so Game 7 was almost a formality for us. Even down 3-0 in the 5th inning, nobody was concerned. We all felt like we were going to win the game.
Well, you certainly did.
Oh, yeah. It was crazy.
Go ahead, Joe. You look like
That
you're
is
ready.
awesome. I had a
Here's the
couple
ring,
of
by the way. I
questions.
got my ring I wear it on my chain because this dang knuckle, I can't wear it on that finger no more.
Huh.
And so, boom, here it is. So I just wear it on my chain.
That's a nice little ring.
Yeah, it is not bad. Not
But you
bad.
don't have the tiger. You don't wear the tiger one, or didn't you get it?
No, I got the Tiger one. I don't wear it as often. It's not as flashy. This is a nice one. There's so many more Met fans and Tiger fans that I run into.
Yeah.
Especially down in Florida where I live. There's a lot of Met fans down there. I have a golf cart that's got Met seats on it and stuff. It's pretty wild. And so every time I drive around, they know who it is.
That's awesome. One of the things I admire about you was the team player that you were. Was it difficult, though? I always wondered this. In '86 in the series, where kind of Ray Knight kind of takes over the position and
Yep.
shines and is MVP of the World Series. And again, you never complained about that. Again, excellent team player. But was anything going through your mind at that point? Were you looking for more playing time, or what were you thinking at that time?
Well, I was definitely looking for more playing time. I'd been on 2 world championship teams at that point, and it was just one of those. It was just actually it was 86, so we had not won yet, but I felt like I was on 2 really, really strong teams.
Mm-hmm.
The Tigers, who I wish I would have had an opportunity to play there more, but Sparky wasn't going to play me, and that's why they traded me.
Mm-hmm.
The Tigers needed some pitching, and so I ended up with New York, which ended up being great. So, so Ray kind of took over. He had a great spring. He had a great April. I was my typical self in April and May. Was kind of struggling. Davey found at bats for me, though. I give him a lot of credit. That's what I loved about him was he was thinking outside the box too. So he's trying to figure out a way to get more offense in the game when he needed it. And so that's when I ended up playing a lot of shortstop.
Mm-hmm.
Against a right-hander. If Dwight Gooden or Sid Fernandez pitched, they were high strikeout, fly ball pitchers. So it was more of a risk-reward thing for Davey, and it worked out great. So I played a lot of shortstop, and it got me in a lot of baseball games that way, and gave me opportunities to get at bats, and took it from there. But yeah, I mean, after excuse me, after the '86 season, I definitely felt like I should have an opportunity to play every day, and I was willing to be traded. I mean, that's fine. Not that I wanted to be traded, but I felt like at this point in my career, if I could go somewhere where I had an opportunity to be an everyday player, the opportunity, not guaranteed, but just the chance, I was willing to take that. And of course, they didn't sign Ray back after that after that free agency period,
right?
And so they basically gave me the job. So at that point, I was like, I knew I was in the right place.
Excellent.
Sometimes you stick around somewhere to learn a little extra, and it helps you refocus and recenter.
Exactly.
So that's sometimes a good bonus, I guess, as you would say. Even though
it's always a good thing.
We all want to play in our day, right?
Absolutely. But
None
there's only
of us
so
like-
many
like
spots.
riding
There's only
the
so many
tide, but-
places.
Right.
And I learned a long time ago that even if you're not playing in the major leagues, especially, there's an opportunity to get better by watching and talking to the veterans and just being ready. Because in baseball, you never know. I mean, Ray got hurt a lot in his career, especially at the end there. And so if he went down, I was going to be the guy. So my job was to be ready to play short when Davey asked me to do it, and then play third if he needed to rest, Ray or something. And so I embraced it. I mean, I wanted to win. Came from a winner. I wanted to win again. And so from my point, my self, I was just like, okay, I'll do whatever. Davey wants me to do something, I'll do it. I trusted the guy, and our team was doing phenomenal. And so I did my job, and that's the way I learned how to play the game. And you do your job, and you try to get better at it, and keep your mouth shut.
Joe. I know you got another question up there.
Come on, Joe.
From the way you're moving.
The timing of these questions couldn't be perfect, I guess, based on what you guys are talking about. So you're a very good player, in your years up to that point. But 87, 30, and the years after that, you go from a very good player to an MVP candidate.
Mhm.
What was it, do you think, that brought you to that higher level?
Hard work, and there's no substitute for it.
Mm-hmm.
So, fortunately, I had enough time under my belt. I knew what kind of player I could be. I'd always stole bases. I'd always hit homers in the minors.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the media asked me, they go, "What are your expectations for next year?" I said, "Well, I'm hoping I can hit 20 homers and drive in 80 runs." And they go, "Well, how do you come to that?" And I said, "Well, this last year, I got 200 something at bats, and I hit 10 homers and drove in 38 or 39 40 runs, something like that." And so I just figure I'm going to get twice as many at bats
Mm-hmm.
or more. And, if I just double those numbers, that's probably what I'll get. And I also knew that from the right side, I was not great. Okay. That offseason, I was determined to make my right-handed hitting my strength, because I knew that late in a game against St. Louis, Pittsburgh, Montreal, anybody, they were going to bring in a left-hander
Mm-hmm.
to flip me around and
Right.
pitch to me that way. So I was like, there's no way I'm going to lose this opportunity to not being prepared
Mm-hmm.
from that side of the plate. So I worked my butt off the whole year off season and made it a real strength. Worked on my base stealing,
Mm-hmm.
worked on my right hand hitting. And that year, my numbers from the right side were off the charts. I don't have them in front of me, but if you go back and look at my splits from 87, they're impressive. It's impressive. And that was really my only year that I really did that. Even though I worked on my game more, I don't know why I wasn't able to repeat that much, but I got better from the left side as well. So it's all good. I just did what I had to do.
Right.
Was Todd Whirl like your favorite matchup to close out a game?
Man, so he was not fun to face. The guy threw very hard. He's a very big guy, and he released the ball. It seemed like he released the ball right in front of you. And I remember, and I tell this story a lot. So I remember facing him for the first time in St. Louis, and I ended up hitting a 2-run homer off of him. But the only way to tie the game up, the only way I could have done that was, and I could hit the fastball. I could always hit it. He threw so hard that when you almost have to get ready to hit as the ball is leaving his hand. I mean, you have to be like down and ready to pull the trigger. And you have to time that correctly or you're going to get beat. And so that was the first guy that, I was able to actually put that into practice during the season and a big spot. And sure enough, boom, there it went. And it was a no-doubter in St. Louis, and they were so loud and crazy. And it was the first game of this big 4-game series. And that tied the game up, and the place went silent. And we ended up winning the game like in an inning or two later. But it was fantastic. That changed the trajectory of my career. And then facing him from then on, he threw me a curveball, he threw me splits, and he threw me every kitchen sink at me, right? And he could not get me out. And so I just, I don't know why, but he's one of those guys that, he threw it where I was swinging. And so I was content to do it like that.
I just wanted to remind people that there's only 2 divisions whenever this all started. Right. It wasn't set up in 4 separate divisions like it is nowadays.
And no wild card
East
either.
Versus West and NL, and then East versus West AL. It wasn't 4 divisions and then 2 make playoff or 8 make playoffs. It was 1 and 1 of each division make the playoffs, and then we play the World Series.
That's
there
right.
It was like either you finish in first in your division or you're out.
You're out.
Right.
I just wanted to clear that up because because you said you're playing St. Louis, and everyone's like, "Well, that's not even like a division game." It was then.
Yes, it was. It was a heated rivalry.
Right.
Probably the most fun games we ever played was against St. Louis.
Um, what was it like to hit 2 sack flies in one game?
I did that. I don't even remember doing that.
Yeah, you
I
did it
know.
on what was that? 1990
Okay,
on September 3rd.
man. That year I had a lot of. I did well with runners on third and less than 2 outs. I got guys in a lot of sack flies that year. I think I had 13 or 14 or something like that.
I don't
And
know and then you also got hit twice in one game too. I don't
oh,
know
did
who
I
that was
really?
against. That was in '92.
Oh, you know who that could have been against? Russ Grimsley with the Phillies, I think. Because I remember him hitting me in the foot, and I hardly ever got hit because I was a switch hitter. Like I got out of the way, no problem. But he hit me with a breaking ball in my foot, and then I think he hit me again earlier or after that. But yeah, so 2 sack flies. I mean, that's what you want to do. You want to get that guy in. You do what you got to do, and then getting hit was never something I was worried about.
And I thought this was a funny stat because you had 25 intentional walks and led the team that year in '88.
Wow, in '88.
Hmm.
Yeah, so in '87, that was my breakout season.
Hmm.
And in '88, I was still hitting in the lower third of the order.
It
So
says you had 25 intentional walks that year.
yeah, no, that's a
That's
lot. I
that's
didn't realize
and
that
you were in the
many.
bottom part of the lineup. That's pretty phenomenal, actually.
Yeah, they'd put me on a pitch to Santana, or if I was hitting eighth, they'd put me on pitch to the pitcher. But for a lot of those games, I was hitting seventh. That was just something that kind
That
of
was
settled
that
in
was
right
my other
there.
question. Do you think today with the DH they would have you batting ninth to swing around the top half?
Yeah, I did it with Detroit. I hit ninth many times hit ninth,
Well, I
and
meant
that
with the
was
DH now.
yeah.
I know we had to
Oh
do a
yeah,
lot of pitching movement and all that, but do you feel that they would put you batting ninth to get the lineup turned around?
yeah. I think if you put me, early on in my career, especially, and they had the DH, I could see myself. Yeah, definitely hitting ninth
Hmm.
because you get an opportunity to flip the lineup. You try to mitigate some of your risk, by putting a bat down low. And I think I was able to do that hitting seventh or eighth. But I think if you had the DH, yeah, hitting ninth, absolutely. Wouldn't have bothered me. I've done it all. I've led off. I've hit ninth. It doesn't matter.
Hmm.
I just wanted to get your feel for the no
Yeah.
DH rule kind
I
of
don't like the
thing
DH.
and
I'm not
where
a
you
DH
feel that
fan.
you would fit in there.
Yeah. I mean,
I could see you being 1 or 9 if you need that
yeah,
spark. If you need the
absolutely.
spark that day, you would have a good leadoff and then be
Yep.
like, all right, we got Mr. Johnson in the bottom of the order. We could kick this thing off and then
Hmm.
go from there.
I remember the first time Davey hit me lead off. We were in Chicago, and we were facing Rick Sutcliffe. I think it was in '87, and he led me off, and I was attacking him, fouling pitches off, and he kept trying to get me out. And he hung something, and I hit it in the street in right field. And I loved leading off, getting in there, just being aggressive. It suited my game.
Batting leadoff, everyone gets to see what's out there, what's going on. All right,
Nowadays they do. You know what I mean? They start taking pitches and you do all that. But to me, if you're up there hacking away at that first fastball you see in the strike zone, you're sending a warning to the pitcher that if he makes a mistake, he's going to pay.
Hmm. And it seems like back, when you played, it was a little bit more unusual for maybe a power hitter to hit, first or even second. Nowadays, it seems like a lot of players, power hitters, are
Yeah,
leading off, lineups. So it was a
either
little
they're
more unusual back then.
yeah, it was unusual. Either you're leading off, but usually if you're a good fastball hitter, they hit you second
Hmm.
because if your leadoff guy gets on, he's a base stealing threat, so you're going to get more fastballs to hit. That was the theory behind that. Um, but yeah, so it didn't really bother me hitting leadoff because I was a good base stealer. I had a high
Hmm.
percentage of success, And like I said, that was really my passion, was to steal bases.
Hmm.
I made that a science. I mean, I worked it out. And so, uh, that's something I really enjoyed. I take a lot of pride. I stole more bases than I hit homers in my
Yeah.
career.
Wow. Did you have a preference as far as a lineup spot?
That's a great question. You know what? Probably fifth or sixth
Okay.
was my preference. Although I could say leadoff or second because of the reasons I talked about earlier.
Right.
But fifth or sixth, I felt like once you got past your cleanup guy or your fifth hitter, then the pitcher kind of exhales a little bit, and he may feel like he's navigated the lineup. You know what I mean?
Right.
And yet here I come, that I can do damage to them in many ways.
Hmm.
And that was my thing. Was I read it somewhere? I don't remember who it was. Maybe it was Ricky Henderson or something, or Lou Brock or whatever. And he goes, I want to hit, but if they walk me, I'm going to make them pay.
Hmm.
And so that was kind of my internal mantra for myself, that I was going to be that kind of player.
That sounds
If
like
they
Ricky Henderson.
It sounds like Ricky Henderson does. But if they're going to walk me, I'm going to make them pay. I'm going to be on second base and score that run for my team. So.
Sorry. I don't know what she's doing.
The dog?
Yeah.
How old's your dog? How old is Phoenix?
She's about 6.
Okay.
I got her as a rescue. She was found on the side of the road. Homeless guy found her. She was all chewed up and her
Oh
bone
my gosh.
sticking out of her elbow, and
Awful.
she was a bait dog. So that's how she learned
Sad.
how to play. So she doesn't exactly get along with other dogs, and she's really strong. So
Yeah.
like she
Poor
gets
thing.
along with other dogs. That's just how she learned how to play.
Yeah, of course.
So
She's trying to
unfortunately,
survive.
it's really hard to find anyone that wants to even try to intermix.
Yeah.
And I feel bad
hear
for
you.
her because whenever she's around us, you would never know that.
Yeah. So I have a golden retriever at home. She's 16.
Wow.
She's the third. So our first one, we were living in California, we got our first one, and we kept one of her offspring, and then on down the line. And Tebow's, we always kept the runt female, so we kind of bred them smaller. Just the one time we bred, and so she was the small one, and yeah, she's the one that's lived the longest, and so her pups have had pups. So she's got a grand pup. She's got several of them actually.
Nice.
Yeah, so she's the
Wow.
first one to be that, and she's a little sick right now. She's got this. It's the second time she's had it in the last 3 or 4 years. It's called geriatric vestibular disease. It's called, or old dog syndrome, old dog disease, and it's in their inner ear, and it affects their balance, and they can't see straight, and they have a hard time holding, even staying upright. They'll fall over, and they recover from it after about a week to 2 weeks. So she's still struggling with it.
I almost lost her the other day. She got bit by a tick.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's tough.
She couldn't move for like
it's rough.
3 days. I didn't know what was going on, and I finally got her to the vet, and they gave her some medicine, and before you know it, so far everything's good. I mean, it's just happened like probably 2 weeks ago now.
Yeah,
But I mean, it's a scary moment.
it is
Right.
a scary moment.
I mean, you see like someone that you come home to every day is happy, and all of a sudden not moving.
Yeah,
Like I thought she was sick for a couple of days. I didn't know any until I started researching why, and I was like, well, I killed a tick on her the other day with the wash, but I didn't know it took like 2 weeks after the bite for it to
Wow.
function into the body. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
I didn't know that either. That's crazy.
And then got her some medicine, and she's all back to being herself.
Good for her.
Good.
So I'm excited she's still here. But I mean, obviously, I was preparing for the worst.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
I wasn't sure. I never, I'm not a. I don't. This is the only. Well, my dog under me, but my family had a dog, but naturally she passed away of old age too. She was probably about 15, 16 years old.
Yeah,
But
see,
anyway,
that's
let's
good.
get back to the story. So you went to where? You went to Colorado, I believe, and Chicago.
Yes. Yep.
Now, which did you have a preference? What field you like being on, or did you just like being inside the diamond?
I love Wrigley Field. I'd always hit well there. I think I had 25 homers against the Cubs in my career. That was a lot by far, and a ton of them at Wrigley. So back in those days, we would make 3 trips into Wrigley. You'd play a 4-game series, a 3-game series, and a 2-game series. And every time we went in there, it didn't matter. Even so, we never opened up there. So every time we got there, it was kind of the weather was starting to turn decent. It didn't matter. I just liked the whole atmosphere of Wrigley Field. And every series we played there, I homered at least once. I mean, 3. So I was guaranteed 1 per series. The 2-game series, I'd get 1. 4-game series, I'd get at least 1. And the 3, I'd get at least 1. And so I always enjoyed that. And so when I got a chance to finish my career there, I was very excited.
I went to Wrigley. I liked Wrigley. I didn't get to go as far as you did, obviously, on the field and in the dugouts and all that. But my favorite was Fenway as a fan.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite that I've gone to, I'm not going to count the home park. I'm not going to count PNC Park because that park's just very nice.
Yeah, it's very nice.
But I've been to Three Rivers too, and I really like that as well. But it was my home park.
Yeah,
it was my home park. I tend not to count them because you're supposed to have them as your favorites, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So if I was on the road, I really liked Fenway, and I liked Shea Stadium too. Even when
Shea was all right. Yeah, Shea was okay.
I didn't like how we set up top and you couldn't tour the whole stadium because once you got to the lower bowl, it was all netted off and you needed a ticket to get on there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, luckily, the usher let me get a picture and said, "You run back and you run back." But anyway, but I got my picture and I enjoyed that. I was, but Fenway was the most welcoming park I've ever been to.
Yeah, Fenway's a cool park. Old Tiger Stadium was a cool park.
Mm-hmm.
Very double deck all the way around. The lights there were fantastic. You could see great, and it's just a great background to hit in. It was really a cool place.
Yeah, Adam, I think you and I compared notes last year about the stadiums we've been to. We've been a lot of similar ones there. And Chicago probably was my favorite, just as far as the atmosphere. History, obviously.
Yep.
I saw the Cubs on a down year when I went in 2006, but great place to watch a game.
Yeah, it really is. It's a little different now, but it's always full. It doesn't matter.
That's the wild part. They could be having a terrible year, but that tickets are still going to be hard to come by.
Oh, and it still
totally.
was.
That was great though. I just like the whole thing about it. The whole thing was cool, and seeing people sitting up in the buildings down left field line, right field line, that was pretty awesome. Mm-hmm. But just this whole thing, the scoreboard, the whole 9 yards, man, it's pretty special.
That's right. Back then they did turn it. Now they kind of have a digital turner, but back then they manually turned.
Yeah, they would manually put the score of the innings in, and the out of town scoreboard, same thing.
And you played in the first night game there, didn't you?
Yes. Yeah. So they played. Actually, they had played a game before that, but it got rained out. So we were the first official game.
Right.
First official night game. I think Lenny hit a homer in that game.
I was going to ask you to play favorites from that team, but I didn't want to.
They're all my favorites. They're all my buddies.
Lenny Dykstra was always my favorite.
Lenny's awesome. Yeah.
Number
Well,
4.
one of my favorite moments from that, you and Roger McDowell with the hot foot,
Hot foot.
you know,
Yeah.
in the
I'm going
Mets
to see
video.
Roger. Yeah. I'm going to see Roger this weekend. And yeah, that hot foot video is classic.
Yeah.
I think we might have to redo that.
Yeah.
Let's do a 40th anniversary.
Put it on
hot foot.
TikTok. You'll
There
become
you
more.
go. Yeah.
How cool would that be?
I for the ones that remember it, or would be
Yeah.
like, all right, this is pretty good.
Yeah.
The ones that don't have any clue what we're talking about,
Oh my gosh.
they'd be like, what are they doing?
You might start a new trend, though.
And you don't see the hot foot anymore. No one does it.
No.
But it's all good.
Now, I'm going to jump towards the end of this
Okay.
of your career. You went 4 for 5, I think. Did you feel like you still had it, or did you know it was over?
With the Mets,
What was that? 90. What was that?
97?
95 versus Houston.
oh yeah, 4 for 5. Yeah, the last game of the year. 4 for 5.
With 3
I
hits,
remember
4 bats. You went 3 for 4. I'm
3
sorry.
for 4. I
2
remember
RBIs.
killing it. Yeah, I was killing it. I was hitting balls all over the park. Yeah, I thought I still had it. I went to winter ball that year. Went to Puerto Rico to play, and I was down there for about a month and a half, and then the veteran guys come down, the local guys come, and they send a lot of Americans home. But I wanted to play again. I mean, that was my goal, but nobody was calling. Physically, I was kind of running out of steam. I got to the big leagues early. The way I played the game, diving and head first slides everywhere, was taking its toll on my shoulders. My knees were good, my hips were good, my back was good. It was really my shoulders, and my neck was an issue. But I wanted to keep going, and so I never got an opportunity to go to camp in '96. So I guess I kind of retired that year. I coached with the Tampa Bay Rays, their A-ball club in Butte, Montana, in the Pioneer League. So they had just come into existence.
So did you like coaching?
I did. I really enjoyed it. But I realized the guys they said, take BP, so I would take BP, and I'd be, knocking balls over the park. And I kind of got the bug to maybe try to play one more time, one more year. And the Mets sent their head scout out to watch me work out. They worked me out. They hit me ground balls, watched me throw across the field, watched me hit, and they were impressed. And they signed me. They said, "Hey, come to spring training. We'll give you an opportunity to make the club and go from there." So I just could not get my timing down after being out a year. And so at the end of camp, I knew it was over. I never did find my groove at all, and found myself on my heels quite a bit. So I was just like, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this. Mentally, I didn't think I was going to be able to do it. So I ended up shutting it down. That was it.
Now, did the Mets give you a day to retire? Like, did they sign a contract and let you retire?
No, they had me throw out the first pitch at Shea of that season. I went into a scouting department from there, so I was kind of like still part of the organization, and it was great. So they gave me a day, and it was kind of fun. But
well, I mean, you did come back one day and got to play with your son. That had to be pretty fun.
Yeah, so that was with Rockland.
I
it
mean,
was an independent
I
club.
think, what is that like?
That was independent
minor
ball.
league.
Yeah, minor league. Yeah, independent baseball. So
Okay,
it's
well,
good-
I think
it's good
now
baseball.
most of them are affiliates of some team somewhere.
Yeah, you
Like,
still
we
have
have
your
the Washington
independence.
Wild Things in right down there, and they are an affiliate of the Pirates now.
Yeah.
So I don't
Well,
know
they're-
if they
they're
were back
still-
then or not.
No, Rockland was they were independent, straight up independent in the Atlantic League.
How many
So,
games
yeah.
did you get to play with your son?
So they wanted me to play the weekend and with him. And so my knees were really bad. I mean, I was getting ready to have knee surgery that year, now replacement. And so I went there and, I worked my butt off, got myself in semi shape. And he hit second and I hit third in the lineup. So I ended up playing 2 games with him. And I remember the first at bat, he made an out, and then it was my turn. And it was so cool to be on deck with my son. I'm very close with my son still, and we're in business together. And so, it's fun to watch him be in the game and me be on deck. And then, I'd walk up and he'd be watching. But they could not strike me out. I think I fouled off a bunch of pitches that during that game, and they never got me out. I mean, they never struck me out. They got me out, but not struck out. And then the next day, I
There's more
tried
pride
to.
in not striking out.
I'm telling you, I did not want to strike out. I was 50 something years old, and we're going to let these young guys get me out. So that's the way I viewed it.
Yeah.
I'm sure there were a lot of pictures. I'm sure they're all over the place, even in their Nashville gym.
Yeah.
Everything of you two playing on the same team to make it memorable.
Oh, yeah. Totally. It's very memorable. Definitely a highlight of my life.
Now, do they only give you the ring, or do they give you like a little replica of the trophy?
Oh yeah, you could buy the trophy. So I bought the replica. I have the replica of the Mets and the Tigers. They're very cool.
I bet you they make really good display cases.
They do. They make them nice. They're really nice. They're on my desk in Florida.
Do you keep them in Nashville or at your house in Florida?
Florida. I keep them in my main house. So yeah,
now,
it's pretty nice.
Are you still in Florida? What was that? Gables?
No, I'm in West Palm Beach.
PBI.
Yep, PBI.
Gotcha.
I'm in a nice gated community.
Your parents grew up in Gables, right?
No, they grew up in Clearwater.
Clearwater. Okay,
my parents, they're from the other side. So they still live in Clearwater.
Now, now, do they come up to your clinic and ever show them off?
No, I can't. I have a hard time swinging anymore. I can't see the ball. I just can't track a baseball very well. The depth is getting me. Old Timers Day was hard enough.
Now, do you? All right. So, yes, Joe, we got anything else?
I got just one question, I guess. More is I mean, you got 2 World Series, you got some 30-30s. I read something that at the time, anyway, you were one of only 2 or 3 guys to do it more than once. Can you pinpoint, I guess, if there's something you're most proud of in your baseball career?
Wow.
What would that be?
Well, I'd probably have 2 things. I mean, or you could say 4 things. So the first thing obviously would be, what do you call it? 30-30. The first time when no one thought I never thought about doing it. I didn't know what it was. But the fact that I was able to do it and be on a very, very, very short list of guys that did it. And then there's an old saying in baseball that anybody can do it once. So the trick was to do it again.
Right.
And so in 87, I surpassed those numbers by a lot. I stole 41 bases that year and only caught 6 or 7 times and hit 36 homers. So I had a good season and drove in 99 runs. No, actually, I drove in 100 runs. 87, I drove in 99. And 87, I drove in 99. In 90, that's not right. In 87, I drove in 99. And then in 89, I drove in 104, 105 or something. And then in 91, so the 3 30-30s, that's 3. The fourth one is the home run and RBI title in 91. I was tied with Barry Bonds and Will Clark in the last game of the year in Philadelphia, and I got a base hit to right field, and drove in the run that ended up being the decisive run. And I led the league by, I had 38, and I think Matt Williams had 33 or something, 34.
Mhm.
So yeah, that was pretty special. And that was the last good year I had. So yeah, I look at those 4 as pretty special.
Awesome.
Was it like? Did you ever hang out with any other teams, like players, like on the road, or
No,
did you just go back to the hotel and?
no, I went back to the hotel. I just hung out with my teammates, played cards and stuff. I didn't really do anything. We didn't fraternize much with the opposing team. There were rules in place back then that you would get fined if you did. So even like running sprints, and guys would end up kind of in center field together. If they caught you, like shaking hands, talking to another team, they would send you a letter and fine you. So of course all that's out the window now, but that was very old school. So that's the way it was for me. All business.
So I'm just curious. Now that we moved into all these new rules, have you gotten a chance to like express your views over any of them?
Not a fan. I'm not a fan. I mean, the pitch clock. Okay, I get it. I understand it. I'm not saying
They
I'm for it or
did
against
something
it.
today to it. Apparently, if the
Oh, they
pitcher
did?
makes a play off the mound,
Yeah.
they're giving them like an extra 15 seconds to
Extra
regroup
time.
or something. Is that what I read? Did anyone else see
I
that
don't
today?
know.
I did see that. I think you're right. I think they're just giving them some extra time if they have to make a play or something along those lines. I didn't really study it, but just a little tweak. There's nothing
Yeah.
major.
Yeah.
I feel Greg Maddux would get a lot of time back.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
That man was
Exactly.
all over the place.
I know. Yeah. So I don't
So how
really
many
like.
bases
I
do
don't
you
like
think you'd
that.
steal with the bigger base?
I hate that. I hate that idea.
I think
I
they
think
only
it's
should have done it at
stupid.
first.
Yeah, it's
Just
stupid.
because, that's the most base action. And
Or do it like they do in softball. They put that
Right.
orange half base and foul ground. That's what they should have done.
Right.
But
I
I
always
think
think-
it's stupid.
The shift is what I don't like. I always say the second these guys start hitting against the shift, it would stop automatically.
Yeah. Well, here's my view on it. It's probably a little bit different than most people's. So I'm glad they kind of like modified the shift. I don't think it's fair because hitting's not fair as it is. Even if you're a great hitter, you're out 7 out of 10. So you're only getting 3 hits out of 10, and now all of a sudden you're going to put everybody on one side of the field, and you could drop a bunt down. Yes, you can drop a bunt down, but they'll put the third baseman over there. And so you can do it once, then they're going to put somebody over there.
Right.
And it's hard to hit balls in those holes because, the opposite field, the shortstop, whatever, because the pitchers are not going to pitch and let you do that. They're going to pound you inside. They want you to hit into the shift.
Right. Okay.
So to me, it's the spirit of the game. It's more fair if you want to call 3 out of 7 fails, 3 good ones, being Hall of Fame caliber. If that's fair, then I don't think they should be able to put more than the 2 guys and not let those guys get into the outfield. Keep them on the dirt. Keep them on the dirt. Why do you got to stick them in the outfield? That's not fair. I mean, it's just not the way it's supposed to be played.
I agree. I'm glad they fixed this kind of because they can still bring an outfield in and run a 2-man outfield if they really want to.
Yeah, if they want to. Yeah, but I think it's going to help.
They didn't fix all the rules, but they closed a couple doors.
The one rule I absolutely abhor, okay, that I think needs to be overturned is you can only throw to first base or disengage from the rubber twice.
Mm-hmm.
And the third time the guy's either going to be out or it's a balk. I think it's the stupidest rule I've ever heard. That's not baseball. I mean, you can't just.
It's not strategy.
There's no strategy. You can't.
Like you've already thrown it twice. I know I can take off.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I don't know all the rules yet. Like, are they allowed to step off and throw the second?
You can only disengage twice per hitter. So that's it. I mean, you can go through those pretty fast.
Now, who knows? Maybe no one's going to pick off at all anymore and just keep their eye on the guy.
I know.
We'll see.
There's going to be a time where, I mean, someone will figure it out, the strategic time to try to steal, after a pickoff throw, a certain point. Because I don't think
I
a
don't
pitcher
remember
wants
if it
to.
was a college game or not, but the pitcher would get the ball and just put his head down right away and not pay attention. And the guy stole home on him on it because he didn't look around. Like, he did this repeatedly, like 8 to 10 times. And the guy had it counted down to like where he knew he could make it home. I don't remember. I think it was a college game. But hopefully
guys figure it out,
They
figure out different things.
It, like, okay, well, they figured that guy out.
Yep.
Now, did you like going to any? What was your favorite AL stadium?
That's a good question.
I mean, you got to go to the Kingdom. You got to go.
Not the Kingdom. I don't like that. That was bad. Anaheim was kind of cool. That Reggie Jackson being there, and that their team was pretty stacked. That was kind of fun. My only Reggie Jackson story was so we were playing in Anaheim. This was in '84, and I think we only went out there like once a year. I think maybe twice. I don't remember. But one time, Sparky put me in right field. He goes, "Hey, Hojo, you're going to right field." I said, "Okay." So Reggie had hit like 1 or 2 home runs already that night. And I go out to right field. I see all this, the lights were shining out. You could see, stuff on the ground. I was like, what's all this shiny stuff? And as I got close out there, it's money. They were throwing money at him. So there were coins, dollar bills. There was all kinds of money on the field. And I'm walking around with my spikes, like clanking over on the money, walking all over it. And I couldn't believe it. I'm like, man, it must be a couple $100 of coins out here at least.
Wow.
And I thought, because Reggie, that was Reggie. I mean, they threw money at him, I don't know.
Wow.
I just thought it was kind of cool story because I've never seen that before.
Wonder if he ever picked it up.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he was doing pretty good.
I must kill the queen.
I should have picked it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who at your batting cages? Is it a school? Do you bring in teams or?
Yeah, so we're open to the public. So that we have our own teams, and then we have we're open to other teams if they want to come in. They can work out in there. They can hit in there. They can do different things. So we've had different sports. There's soccer in there. There's all kinds of stuff that.
So this is like a big
facility. Yeah, it's big. It's like 35,000 square feet, something like that.
I'm just curious. Do you let the kids catch like in the net from the machine?
Yeah, if they're catchers, I guess.
They used to never let me do that as a kid. It always got me mad. Like I could never practice being a catcher.
Yeah,
I think it was. I don't know. I guess they're afraid of liabilities back then. I'm not sure. But they're like, no, we cannot put you behind the cage. And I'm like, why? I'm like, I'm in all gear.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
They don't train like they do nowadays.
No, it's different now. These guys.
Different. Yeah. A lot more indoor facilities. Up north anyway, there's a lot more indoor. I mean, down south, they took maybe 2 months off because it got that cold, and that's about it. If that even happened.
Yeah, we're extremely busy from first part of January, right at Christmas time. We're extremely busy in late December, going through February into March. I mean, it's just slammed. So it's good business. It's been a good business. It's been fun.
So you're in that busy time right now still?
Yeah, I mean it's slowing down some because high school baseball started up, but I was
going to say they should be playing by now, right?
They are.
Now, do you go watch high school ball still, or?
Yeah, my son is also a head coach of a private school in Franklin, and so I'll go watch them play when I watched them the other night. Yeah, if I'm in town and they're playing, then I'll go watch.
So you let you sit in the
Absolutely.
dugout?
No, I don't go in the dugout. I stay outside.
Really?
Yeah.
I figured you would have wanted to.
No, that's his domain. You know, I'm good. I just want to watch and enjoy the game. I don't want to be, babysitting or anything. I just want to watch the game, enjoy it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Joe, you got anything else for Mr. Johnson?
No, I'm out of questions. I very much appreciate the information there, and you brought back some excellent memories here. So
You got it.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson, for coming on. Anytime you want to come back and talk sports with us, you are more than welcome to. I'll send you a text every time we're going to talk baseball if you want me to.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me on.
I love having people on that want to talk baseball and sports in general. But
I'll shoot you a message and we'll figure it out. Okay.
all right, if you just want to talk Mets, that's fine too. We can talk about the upcoming season.
Yeah,
I know we just had a massive loss.
Yeah, I know that's bad. Edwin
That's
Diaz. Yeah.
So real quick, I think with Tony striking out Trout.
Yeah, that Trout was just overmatched. I mean, that was ridiculous. That was a lot of fun to watch. That was cool.
And this is one of the better World Classics I felt.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I thought
I felt that way the whole time.
Yeah, I thought the games were really good, very entertaining. I did think of another thing I'm very proud of with baseball is going into the Mets Hall of Fame this year.
Excellent.
Yeah, in June.
June
3rd.
Is that going to be like an opening day, or is that going to be a
June
full week?
3rd.
June
3rd, Saturday. Yeah.
Who's all going in with you?
We'll be watching.
Al Leiter and myself are the two players, and then Howie Rose and Gary Cohen.
Awesome.
Yeah. So it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, send you guys pitching that day, and you get to see them.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I do have them on my dynasty team, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Well, good luck to you guys.
Yes, thank you for coming on. Like I said, I'll shoot you a text. If you want
It
to
was
come
a
on,
pleasure.
we're always up for it, man.
All right, guys. Thank you.
All right. Great having you on. Great meeting you.
Bye, Joe. As always, thank you. We are definitely going to do it again. And
Appreciate it. Just let me know.
all right, everybody. We got to learn about Howard Johnson tonight. Thank you again, and we will talk.
Okay, guys.
All right. Good night.
Good night.